Welcome to another episode of Health Your Way podcast, where we discuss health issues ranging from physical, mental, emotional, as well as current facts. Today, we're going to be talking about living well with sickle cell anemia. And the reason why I want to have this conversation is I find that a lot of people are not aware of the disease itself or don't have the information that's required to maybe live well with it or know how to diagnose themselves. So this is one of the reasons why I invited Serena Thompson. I apologize. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. She's the Vice President, Director of Programs of Sickle Cell Association of Ontario. I got that right?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. So as I was mentioning, sickle cell anemia, like for the viewers and listeners, I guess before we go further, is there anything you want to add to your resume, your bio, give us a little background of who you are?
Well, I myself live with sickle cell disease, and I am way over my 40s. We'll just leave it at that.
Oh, you look
good! Thank you. And so the reason why I mentioned my age is because as a child, there wasn't a lot going around about sickle cell, and the doctors did not know too much. Really? And they felt that it was necessary to let us know that our lifespan is shortened. So growing up, I was told, you're not going to live, or a lot of people do not live past 20, somewhere around there. So growing up, that's all I thought about. I never thought, I'm going to last till, past 40. So I doubled that. I doubled their expectation. But a lot of people that I know as well in the community have done the same as well. And I think that happened because of the ongoing research, the ongoing medicines that are out there, ongoing support in the community. So I was born in the States, but when they saw me, I was jaundiced as a child. And so I guess they knew more about sickle cell and knew to test for it because that's what they did right away. They tested me and informed my parents that I have sickle cell disease. So moved to Canada, and growing up was a bit hard because, you're trying to be a regular child, and then you have this disease that interrupts your daily living. And so it was difficult. I was in and out of sick kids hospital for sick kids downtown.
Oh, really?
And then at one point you graduate. You basically graduate when you're 18, 19, you graduate out of sick kids. And you go to Toronto General Hospital. For care. So then, while I was going to school, say high school and college was quite difficult for me because one trigger for sickle cell disease is stress. One main trigger is stress. So stress.
So before we go further, can you tell the viewers and listeners what is sickle cell? Like before you go further, so they have an idea of it and they can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, so sickle cell disease, it's basically a blood disorder, red blood disorder, where the molecule in the hemoglobin does not hold oxygen long enough to carry to your cells throughout your body. So what happens is that it's a normal blood cell is round, spongy, and flexible. And what it does, it absorbs the oxygen from your lungs, and then it's supposed to go through. It has a destination within your body to release the oxygen to feed the organs. But what happens is that the hemoglobin, it releases the oxygen molecule too early. Before it reaches its destination, and then it turns into a sickle shape. So that's why it's called sickle cell. It turns into like a C shape.
I see.
Like a C shape. Because it turns rigid, sticky, not flexible at all. So what happens is that when they start sickling, that's called sickling, and when that starts happening, the blood will it's flowing through your veins. But when it gets into little areas such that the veins are the smallest or smaller, like say in the joints,
Okay.
then that's where they clump together and block flow. They block the blood flow.
Okay.
And then that causes the crisis, the excruciating pain.
So like pain, and you said that you had jaundice as well. So those are some of the symptoms of sickle cells.
Yeah. So the jaundice is that tells you that something is going on in the liver.
Oh, okay.
It tells you that something's going on in the liver with the blood, and possibly the blood is sickling too fast and too much, because a regular person will produce about 120, like their production of sickle cell, sorry, not sickle cell, but regular blood cells is at 120. And then someone with sickle cell can range from 60 to 90, and nothing to be scared about. It's just something that our body is used to. So our body recycles about every 20 days. Okay. When a normal person recycles much longer than that. So that means our blood is dying out. Our blood is basically dying and sickling too early. And so our body has to regenerate and generate new blood. I see. Faster. So about every 20 days. Yes. So what happens, what I was saying before, when the blood gets sticky and rigid in the joints, that causes the pain, and because it blocks the blood flow. And so it's causing pain, bone pain, inflammation, and then usually the relief is IV fluids, so lots of liquids. Really? Those are some of the treatments? This is the treatment. You need the IV fluids to help with the blockage, and then obviously very strong opioids. Really? For the pain, yes. That's how, so like that's what, on a personal level, and that's how some of the treatments you've had that you're going through, that, are you currently going through that? Or is it something that is once the, like I guess I'm being ignorant. I don't know, like, is it for me, so everyone's different. Okay. Everyone that has sickle cell experiences it differently. Okay. And for me, my pain would come in the middle of the night while I'm sleeping. Really? So I'll be fine for the day and then go to bed, and then it will wake me up, say, for me, it was usually about 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm awoken with extreme pain. And so the only way, if I'm not able to move, because sometimes it's in my knees or my shoulders or my hips. So if I can't move, I try to take medication for myself first at home, just so I can get some relief, so I can be able to move and, say, call an ambulance or drive myself or get someone to drive me. Yeah. And so then once I arrive in ER, what they're supposed to do is give you oxygen first, because you're not getting enough oxygen in your body, right? Yeah. So then, and then on top of that, give you IV fluids to help with the blockage. And then also the IV fluids is to help with the opioid medication. And it depends on, some people are allergic, say, to Demerol, morphine, and they'll have to take, say, hydromorphone. And this sounds like a lot. Like it's a lot, especially when you're in a crisis. When you're in a crisis, you just basically want the pain to stop, right? So when you want the pain to stop, and then you have, the healthcare system that doesn't really understand and doesn't understand that you've gone through this pain since you're a child. So your tolerance to opioids is higher. So then when we go in and say, in our 40s that we're taking 15 milligrams of morphine, when regular people can barely handle 2 milligrams, we're trying to let them know this just numbs the pain for a few hours, right? It doesn't get rid of it, or it subsides the pain to a point where we can function. And so that happens a lot. And just trying to get doctors to listen to you happens a lot, doctors and nurses.
And okay, when you say doctors and nurses is having a hard time for them to communicate and listen to you, then how do you get diagnosed? Like people might be listening to you and talk and saying, okay, so let's say I'm feeling this pain, I'm seeing this, but nobody will take me serious. Like how do they find out that they have this disease?
Yeah, so what they do is go to their doctor, let them know about the symptoms,
Okay.
and say, I've never got tested for sickle cell. Can you test me? And so it's a simple blood test
Okay.
called electrophoresis.
Electrophoresis. I'm saying it right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, electrophoresis. So that goes into detail because there are different types of sickle cell. And there's
Really?
different types of, yes. And then there could be other blood abnormalities that the person may have and don't know.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. Like I didn't know there was different types. I thought there was like one fits whole box.
Right. No.
Yeah, like I don't think a lot of people know there's different types, and this is really good to know.
Well, the main one is sickle cell SS.
Okay, sickle cell SS. Okay.
Yeah, so the SS, that is the main one, and the most severe.
Really?
And then there is sickle cell beta thal 0.
Okay.
That one is almost like sickle cell SS as well, and just as serious. And then there's others like sickle cell SC. There's others that have SC that's a little milder form.
Okay.
And there's SD, SE, but and
SD,
it all depends
SE.
on SD, SD. Yeah, it depends on which region of the world you
really
come from. Yes.
Oh, then okay. So then help me. Like you've given me some feedback in respect to there's numerous types and not one type of sickle cell SS, which is most the severe one. So what are the common myths and I guess myths that you normally face when you tell people that you have sickle cell?
Yeah. So the main thing
Mm-hmm.
in the healthcare system is that we're drug seekers.
I'm sorry. What?
Yes, that we're drug seekers. I think mainly because of the type of opioid and the strength,
Really?
the dosage. And so if we're taking it already at home and it's not working, and then we have to go to the hospital for the proper relief, we need the relief. So sometimes the relief doesn't come right away. We take our medication at home. So we need to go to the hospital for proper relief. And then when we tell them what we're taking, they want to reduce it by half or, by quarter, like not give the amount that we say no that works. Like we know our body, we know what works. So when we tell somebody, okay, we need 50 milligrams of morphine to at least attack the pain, to bring it down from 10, to a 5, not even a 10 to a 7. This is the amount that you need to give us at the beginning. And so when we're telling our healthcare provider that, sometimes they feel like we're drug seeking because we're in there often and always want that high dosage. So drug seeking is the main one. And then then they'll accuse us for hospital hopping. The only time we'll
hopping?
From hospital to hospital. The only way that will happen is if a patient goes in, not get the treatment they're supposed to, leave the hospital and go to a different one that maybe their hematologist is already at, and try to go there for the relief. Because if anything, they're going to the first hospital that is the closest to get relief. So that might not be their home hospital. It might not be a hospital where they see their hematologist and other healthcare providers that know them. So what happens is sometimes they'll check themselves out, go to the next hospital, which is maybe a little further. They'll have to spend money on a cab or, ask the person that brought them to bring them to the next location and stuff like that.
Really?
But they see it as, that's something that we do often. No, we don't. And the biggest myth is that they think it's a Black disease, which it is not.
No comment right there.
So
let me just calm down for a second. Let me come. Okay, go ahead. Please finish your sentence. Finish your sentence.
They think it's a black disease. Nobody else can get it. And
I'm gonna fix my face right now.
So imagine what other people are thinking.
Oh, I'm already there. This is what I'm trying to fix my face right now. This is what I'm trying.
So imagine what other people are thinking. But it is a blood disorder. It's genetic. Anybody can have the trait. And we've had clients that would have, say, the trait of sickle cell and trait of thalassemia and never think that their child would end up having both. And that's what happens. And that's so a child with SS, it's one chance out of 4 pregnancies. So every pregnancy, it's one chance.
So do you say 1 out of 4 pregnancies?
Out of 1 pregnancy? Sorry. So it's 1 chance out of each pregnancy that the child can have sickle cell, which is 25% chance. That is if both parents have the trait.
Okay, that's okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm just like
yeah, you have to have the trait. You have to have the trait to pass it on.
Yeah, you have to have the trait. Don't be scared.
Yeah, so both parents have to have the trait, and it's a gamble. It's 1 out of 4. So it's 25% the child will have sickle cell, 25% the child will come out normal, and 50% chance the child will have the trait. So we are educating people out there to say, listen, you need to get tested and know your status.
Then, okay. I think I learned too much right now, and I'm just like, really? Then I guess for a lot of people that are watching this, how do you maintain a healthy life? Like, I'm hearing that, your pain, like maybe everybody has different experience, but how do you sustain a healthy life? Like, are you able to go to a gym or do some activity, or do you keep yourself eating properly? Like, how do you do it?
Well, one thing is to keep hydrated.
Oh, nice. Water. You heard the woman say water.
Biggest thing. Water, juice, tea, mainly water, right? Water is the best. But that is something I learned from sick kids. Okay. And so I would always be walking with my water. I would always make sure I'm hydrated, always drinking something, because I knew that was something that would help. Oh. And then that's another thing. When you tell the kids or the teenagers, always walk with your water, sometimes, and I don't know how it is in school now, but in classes, but before you weren't even allowed to have water. You weren't even allowed to go for a quick water break.
If they can carry cell phones with them, they should be able to carry water at this point. I'm sorry.
Well, when I was in school, then it was like, because now you're drinking a lot of water, you need to go to the washroom.
Yes.
So then you couldn't get the bathroom breaks either. So that's what we advocate for the kids in school. We make sure to go in there, let them know, let the teachers know, the kids know, okay, they need to sit closer to, say, the door, so then they can just quietly slip out and go use the washroom, come back.
That makes sense.
Yes. And so keeping healthy, hydrating, and just stretches, because most of the time we wake up very achy.
Your joints and everything. Okay.
Yeah, the joints are achy, sore. So we have to wake up and do a couple of stretches, strengthening as well, abdominal strengthening.
Really?
And,
okay.
For me, it's like abdominal, but throughout the years, my knees have been affected.
Okay.
My shoulders have been affected. So those are the first places that I would have a crisis now. And so, it's it's a little hard to, do those impact exercises.
I get that, because like even for some of my clients, like some of them, they don't have sickle cell, but there's certain limitations. Your best bet is mobility. You want to keep your body moving.
Yes.
Keep it liquid. You want to stretch, because I know, like, if you have a desk job or people have bad posture, you want to stretch
Yes.
out. Like, I get it.
Yes.
That's just basic movement is what you need to keep your joints moving and oiled. Now, I think a lot of people are hearing what you're saying and like it, and they're like, okay, you know what? I never knew there was so much information. How could they, if they wanted to reach out to you or your organization, how could they reach out to you guys and, you know, get involved and get motivated to come assist her and get the word out?
Well, we have a website. We have a brand new website up.
I'll have that there.
Okay, it's sicklecellontario.ca. And everything's on there, from what sickle cell is, what we do, and we have support groups. We have, you know, education sessions. We do lunch and learns.
Really?
We do lunch and learns. We do conferences. We do workshops, and then we try to encourage those with sickle cell, because there's, you know, they're affected by the social determinants of health as well. So, you know, relationships.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So relationships.
I'm thinking also mental
relationship education, mental health.
Yes,
big time.
Because I can see that, like, even just talking to you, I'm like, I'm not experiencing, but I can feel a drain on myself, because I'm like, if I had to go through what you went through, I'd be, not to be rude, but miserable, like in pain, like, what is this? And a lot of people may have mental issues that they need to have that support system. Maybe they don't have that support system, and your organization offers that. I'm thinking, is that fair to say?
Yeah. So what we do, we offer counseling.
Okay.
We have a care model. So it's counseling, advocacy, awareness, and education. Good. So that spells out care. And what we do, especially with the counseling, people call. And when they call, it's mainly when they're in distress, right? They're in distress at that moment. Say they're at the hospital, not getting the proper treatment. They need advocacy. We'll pick up whatever time it is. We'll pick up ourselves and go advocate for that family or that individual, to make sure they get the proper care. And then we do home visits.
You do?
We do home visits as well, yes. So say the person was in the hospital for a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you know, they need time to recover. And so some of our board members or some of our board members will actually help. And we will go in, help. Say they need help with laundry, groceries, a meal.
You basically you support in any way that they need support for, to your best of abilities.
Yes, we do.
And that's good to know, because I know I'm talking to you, and this, like, you hear about the disease, and something, even like when I told my boyfriend, he's like, what is this? Like, he didn't even know what it was. And what's interesting is when you previously said this was a Black disease, I think a lot of people believe this is a Black disease, and to hear the fact that, you know, it's not. It's a genetic disease. You hear the woman? She said genetic. Serena said it's genetic. It's not a Black disease, okay? Yes. I think this has been highly educational for me, like, by far, and it's also opened my eyes to, like, understand people that have gone through it, like you and other people that are facing it, and even people that are watching now going, maybe I do need to check it, because maybe I want kids. If I want kids, you may want to check, have yourself, like, Planned Parenthood. I mean, that's and then we talk about prevention as well. Really? We talk about prevention as a big thing. I mean, a lot would have already been diagnosed. So then we'll have to do the counseling. But, you know, through our education and awareness, we are teaching prevention as well. So if you do ask your partner, you know what, I'm going to test myself for sickle cell disease, I think you should too as well, before we even think about having children, and see what that looks like. Because if both have the trait, and you know it's 1 in 4 chances of having a child with sickle cell, do you want to go through with it, or do you want to go through counseling, maybe IVF? You know, there's other alternative ways. Yes. And then it's even harder when, say, both parents have sickle cell disease and they still want children, you know. So they're, you know, we'll counsel them, let them know all their choices. And then, you know, from there, they make a decision. Like, based on what you're saying, for me, it's more like, it's wise enough that you test yourself now. And then, and often people, when they date somebody you have this, you have you be checked and stuff like that. I don't think that's a conversation piece that people have had or think of having with someone.
No.
So it's unfortunate and it's sad for me to say this out loud, but if you're about to date somebody, it might be wise to ask them if they have that trait, if you have it yourself. And then do you want to really continue that relationship? If you do, you have to understand the challenges that you're going to have with your child and what your child is facing.
And that's what comes through the counseling. We let them know.
Yeah. Yes. So what I'm getting from this conversation really is get yourself checked. And if you do, and it should be a conversation piece that you have with your significant other, because it is, I can see that being devastating to someone, to when you decide to marry someone, have kids.
I think it's devastating, especially at the beginning, once they get that call. But once they realize there's a whole community out there.
Oh, good.
And, and they're supporting each other. We have support groups out. Actually, we have a support group out in Scarborough at Taibu Community Health Center.
Okay.
And that center had adopted the sickle cell program, where we do, host support groups once a month.
Okay.
And so then there'll be parents that, new parents to a child with sickle cell, a person that just got diagnosed, because maybe sometimes the people that didn't get diagnosed from 2006 and on through the newborn screening could have been diagnosed because they were about to go.
What is newborn screening? What's newborn screening? So you just said a sentence.
Sorry. So newborn screening, we advocated for that back in 2004, 2005, to have it passed that sickle cell was one of the diseases that is tested in a newborn baby. So it got added it got passed in 2005 and started testing babies in 2006 for sickle cell disease. So it's the 28th disease in newborn screening that's mandatory. That's mandatory. And this is in Ontario and a couple of other provinces, but Ontario was the first.
I guess I've learned a lot. I have to say, I'm really honestly, sincerely happy that you decided to join me. And before we let you go, is there anything that you want to add or feel like that people should know? And at this point, I think I've learned like more than I would have learned by just reading at this. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, I think patient experiences, you learn more that way than just reading off a book. I mean, they're right now in medical school, it's just a paragraph in medical school for them. It's just a paragraph, basically, or a page on sickle cell. And so what we have done, I want to let everybody know, I'm wearing my Humber School of Health and Sciences, and that is because Humber is the first school to adopt a sickle cell program where all the third and fourth year nurses have to go through a symposium, a whole day symposium on sickle cell before they graduate.
Good.
So they have to go through that program. So what happens is that the school invites us, a few of us that are in the community, to come and speak on a panel. So what they do, will have a nurse speak about how it affects the children. We'll have a doctor as well speaking on how it affects the adults, and maybe a social worker as well, because the social worker is very busy with us. And then there's a panel, and it's people with lived experience. So it'll be, say, a mom with a child, or a mom living with sickle cell that has a child, a young adult going through school and stuff like that, and employment. And then we have the older adults that have, surpassed the expectations. So once we do that, the students have tons of questions. They're so into it. We've captured their attention, basically, of telling them how it really is versus what they read and what they're going to expect once they get out there in the healthcare system. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I guess I'm at loss of word, because it's really good that there's an association like yours that's making an effort and trying to make changes for the future generation and the current generation by, getting people out there and providing a platform to educate people on this.
Yes.
So what I would like to tell the listeners and viewers, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Serena Thompson. We're going to have her details in the comments. If you have if you want to leave a comment or please feel free to share the episode. If you want to have her come back on the show one more time with any questions of yours, please feel free to email us. And thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Mo. I don't even remember how we connected. If I reached out to you or you reached out to me.
I reached out to you. I did. I reached out to you.
But that was, I appreciate it so much. I'm here anytime to tell my story. And I'm just glad that I'm with an association that is able to support me as well.
Thank you for joining us today on our weekly episode of Health Your Way podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, share with others, and please feel free to comment below and ask any questions on topics we discussed, as well as future topics you'd like to hear about. Have a happy and healthy week, and be sure to tune in next week for the next episode on a Health Your Way podcast.